Hello everybody, and today we're going to be drawing a simple strip foundation with a concrete floor which is at a scale of 1 is to 10. The scale of 1 is to 10 means that the actual measurements, for example, for a reinforced foundation, which is up here, which is 1050 by 350, if its scale 1 is to 10, this 105 will become 105 and this 350 will become 35. Whereas if a scale of 1 is to 5, then this would become 70 and this would become a 210. So just so you know the difference, the main times, generally you're asked either scale 1 is to 5 or scale 1 is to 10. But for me, just here today, I'm just going to make it simplify you to make it scale 1 is to 10. So there's just the different parts of the drawing. If you want to pause the video and just take note of them all. Okay, I'm only going to be putting in the numbers of the drawing, so I'll put in part number 1, part number 2, part number 3, part number 4, and so on, and then you'll have to insert them in the text in yourself. Some people like to just to do some guidelines along the right hand side of the sheet and put the text in, otherwise you can just put the text in around the drawing. Okay, so we'll get started. The first thing we're going to be doing, and we'll sort of build it up into sequence, will be parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so I'll just leave that there, and you want to pause it to do so now. Okay, so we'll start off on our drawing. First thing we're going to do is we are going to draw our foundation in. Now, our foundation, okay, is drawn in like so. Okay, so our foundation is, put this towards the bottom of the sheet, of course, and the foundation is 105 millimeters long. So the first line I'm going to draw is 105 millimeters at the bottom. Then I'm going to come up and draw a line at 35 millimeters in height, and again on the right hand side 35 millimeters in height. Foundation is 3 times wider than the wall it sits on, and that's a standard for simple strip foundation. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in our concrete, our reinforcement in the bottom of our concrete, give our concrete some strength, and this reinforcement will generally be up about 65 millimeters from the bottom of the foundation, and it is to help with all the tensile forces that will happen at the bottom of the foundation. So that's the first thing. Then I'm going to just put the hatching symbol in for concrete. Okay, so that's the hatching symbol in and the foundation drawn. Remember the sizes here, this is 105, this is 30, because the scale is 1 is to 10. If it was 1 is to 5, this would be 210, and this would be 70 height. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure in 35, because the width of the wall will be 350. And so measuring 35, now I'm going to draw my vertical line straight up. The height I'm going to come up is about a third of the way up on the sheet. Okay, and the same on this. And I'm just going to cap that off at the top. Okay, so I have my foundation and I have my wall, and it's 35, 35, and 35, and then this inside 35 will divide up into a 10, a 15, and a 10, and again those lines are taken all the way up. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on hatching for block, which is a 45-degree line. Same on this side. Okay, I'm going to put in my ground level. Do a wavy line in here. So this shows my, I'm just going to focus in. Okay, so the ground level, okay, to the bottom of the foundation, which I just can't see at the minute, but it is 900, so that's 90 up. And then this gets 45-degree lines. And they don't have to be too close together. Just don't make too much work for yourself, because you have the time constraint in the exam as well. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my hardcore, and it will go directly over to the right hand side, and it doesn't really matter what distance I come there. And because there's this amount of hardcore, I'm going to divide it. Hardcore can go into layers anywhere between 150 and 225. I'm going to divide it up into 3 layers at 150. And at the bottom we get a 45-degree line at the bottom. Okay. On top of the hardcore goes my sand blinding. Then on top of that, I'm going to put it in blue pen so you can see it. I'm just going to put it in a dashed line so it becomes clearer for everybody to see. That's my DPM or my radon. Now it will come up along the side and lap in under the DPC, but I'll just do that later on. On top of that, I am then going to put in my layer of insulation. On top of my layer of insulation, I have my concrete floor. And then on top of my concrete floor, I'm going to put in my tiled or whatever finish I want to put on the floor. And then down along the side, I have what's known as a little bit of vertical insulation in there for thermal bridging. And I'm now going to put in a skirting board. And up on the inside, I should have put in first, was my plaster finish. So, okay, so I'm going to focus in on that so you can see clearly. Okay, so I have my hardcore here. No, the hardcore is in, and you can do this yourself, it's in 60-degree lines up and down. So the hardcore is in the whole way across. That's your 60-degree angle, going up and down all the time. Okay, that's that one. The sand just goes in as little dots to represent sand. The insulation goes in as 45-degree lines going up and down and creating a pattern like so the whole way across. Okay. The insulation, of course, is all along the sides here as well. And goes all alongside. Your concrete gets your stone symbol and put a little bit of reinforcing there as well. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I am going to put in my insulation on the inside. The level of insulation, a standard size would be 100 millimeters. Come down, just make sure that it goes underneath the insulation in the floor. And again, it needs to get the 45 degree lines going. And your angles. And that continues on the whole way up there. And another thing I'm going to put in is my external render. Going like so. And then I spoke about it earlier on, which is the DPC, and it goes up 150 from ground level. So it will be coming in roughly in around here. I'm going to put that in a red dash line. I'm just focusing on this a little bit more so everybody can see. Okay, so I have my DPC and it's up 150. Okay, the minimum is that it's up 150. It means it can be up more. Okay, but that's the minimum size. And DPC stands for damp proof course. I'm just going to put it in a red line like so. And then my blue DPM or radon, the case may be, will come up along the side here and will lap underneath my DPC. So you have DPC in red and DPM in blue. Okay, the last thing I'm going to put in is I'm going to put in some wall ties which go across the wall and tie the two walls together, hold the two walls together, one of the functions, and the other function is to hold in the insulation to the internal wall. And those wall ties will be every 900 horizontally, and they will be every 450 vertically. So basically your wall tie will be every 2 blocks high and every 2 blocks in the horizontal. One of the last things I'm going to put in is cavity fill, which slopes away from the building. And sometimes this will just be what's known as the dead building underneath the ground, and sometimes the block layer will actually just put blocks down here rather than filling up the cavity. I think that is our drawing. Okay, finished.